New York City has been filmed, photographed, and mapped more than any other place on the planet. And yet right now, while you are watching this, something like 8.5 million people are walking, eating, and sleeping directly on top of stuff that should not legally exist. There is a colonial ship rotting underneath the World Trade Center. There is an island in the Bronx with over 1 million bodies on it, and the trenches are still active. There is a subway station sealed since 1945 that thousands of commuters glide past every single day without noticing. These are 25 facts about the strangest things happening in New York right now. We are starting with weird. We are ending with unhinged. By the time we get to number 1, you are not going to look at this city the same way. Quick thing before we start. The skyline you picture when you think New York, it was not designed. It was forced on the city by something underground. Number 25. Manhattan's skyline is the shape it is because of a rock. The entire island sits on Manhattan schist, a metamorphic bedrock dense enough to support 70-story skyscrapers. The reason you see 2 clusters of tall buildings, one downtown and one in Midtown, with a weird flat dip between them, is that the bedrock dips deeper underground in the middle. You can't anchor a skyscraper on soft earth. So today, every time a developer wants to build, they're not just negotiating with the city, they're negotiating with a 450 million year old rock formation that says no. Number 24. Lower Manhattan is partially a graveyard for ships. In 2010, construction workers excavating the new World Trade Center tower struck the wooden hull of a merchant ship 22 feet below street level. Dendrochronology dated the timber to 1773. The ship had been scuttled and buried to extend the colonial shoreline into the Hudson. This means one of the most modern financial districts on Earth is literally built on the carcass of colonial New York, and the Goldman Sachs interns eating lunch above it have no idea. Number 23. Every weekday, thousands of commuters on the downtown 6 train pass through an abandoned subway station, and most of them never look up. The City Hall station opened in 1904 as the crown jewel of the original subway line. Vaulted tile ceilings, brass chandeliers, skylights. It closed in December 1945 because the platform curved too tightly for newer trains. It was never demolished. If you stay on the 6 past the last stop today, the train loops through the station, and for about 8 seconds you are looking at a perfectly preserved piece of Edwardian New York through the windows. The MTA does not announce it. You have to know. Number 22. In the middle of the East River, you can see a Gothic ruin from the window of your FDR Drive taxi right now. The Renwick ruin on Roosevelt Island is what is left of the city's smallpox hospital, designed by the same architect as St. Patrick's Cathedral. Today it is the only ruin in New York City protected as an official landmark. Luxury condos sit 200 yards away. Residents of those condos have a view of a 19th century plague hospital from their balconies. That is just a Tuesday in New York real estate. Number 21. North Brother Island, also in the East River, is where the city sent Mary Mallon, better known as Typhoid Mary, the first person in America identified as an asymptomatic carrier of a deadly disease. Mary lived in forced quarantine there for 26 years until she died in 1938. The hospital buildings are still standing. The island is off limits to the public today, classified as a bird sanctuary. If you kayak too close, the Coast Guard turns you around. A quarter mile from the Bronx, there is an island nobody is allowed on, and nobody talks about why. Okay, those were the weird ones. Now we get into the dark. Number 20. Hart Island, off the coast of the Bronx, is the largest tax-funded mass burial ground in the United States. Over 1 million people are in unmarked trenches there today. Most are stillborn infants, unidentified homicide victims, and people whose families could not afford a funeral. For over a century, the graves were dug by inmates from Rikers Island. That practice only ended in 2021. Right now, as you watch this, the Department of Corrections is still using the same trench system that was dug in the 19th century. Number 19. Under Riverside Park on the Upper West Side, Amtrak trains are still running through a tunnel that used to be an underground village. The Freedom Tunnel, named after graffiti artist Chris Freedom Pape, was home to a community of unhoused New Yorkers throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, some of whom lived there for years, built furniture, installed lighting, and raised children. Amtrak cleared them out in the mid-1990s, but the murals are still there. And at this exact moment, there is an Acela train full of Boston lawyers passing through what was someone's living room. Number 18. In the southeastern corner of Brooklyn, there is a public beach where you can walk on garbage from before your grandparents were born. Dead Horse Bay was a 19th century industrial site for rendering horse carcasses into glue. Later, the area was used as a landfill, and in the 1950s, the landfill cap broke open. Every high tide since then washes out century-old glass bottles, leather shoes, horse bones, and rusted household objects. Today, park rangers have actually closed the beach off and on because the debris contains radioactive material. People still sneak in to collect the bottles. Number 17. The federal courthouses you've seen in every episode of Law & Order are slowly sinking into a swamp. Foley Square in Lower Manhattan sits on top of a filled-in freshwater pond called the Collect Pond, which was once the main drinking water source for colonial New York. By the early 1800s, it was so polluted with slaughterhouse waste that the city buried it. The ground underneath is still marshy. Buildings in Foley Square settle unevenly from year to year, and nobody can fix it because the entire federal district is floating on a 200-year-old swamp. Number 16. New York City has a director of rodent mitigation. It is a real municipal job with a real six-figure salary. Current estimates put the rat population somewhere between 2 million and 8 million. Nobody knows the real number. During the pandemic, the rats reorganized. They started following outdoor dining sheds and moving up from the subway into restaurant kitchens. Entire colonies now live inside trash compactor pits beneath your neighborhood bodega. The city declared a war on rats in 2022. As of today, the rats are winning. That's the dark tier. Now the unsettling ones. Number 15. Hart Island's trenches received a new layer of bodies in April 2020. During the first wave of COVID, the daily death count in New York overwhelmed the morgues, and aerial photos went viral showing workers in PPE digging mass graves on the island in real time. Some of those bodies are still unclaimed today. The families never showed up. The numbered pine boxes are sitting in the same trenches that hold victims of the 1918 flu pandemic and the 1980s AIDS epidemic. 3 pandemics, 1 trench. Number 14. On the Upper West Side, the Dakota apartment building has 2 claims to fame. It is the exterior used in the 1968 horror film Rosemary's Baby, and it is where John Lennon was shot on December 8, 1980. Every year on that date, fans gather outside the Dakota's entrance to sing Imagine. The entryway where Lennon collapsed is still in use as the main door. Residents today, who pay millions of dollars for their apartments, walk past the exact stone archway every morning on their way to Starbucks. Number 13. Between 2012 and 2013, a New York Police Department officer was arrested by the FBI for plotting to kidnap, cook, and eat women. The so-called cannibal cop used department computers to pull addresses from restricted federal databases. He was convicted, and then on appeal he was acquitted because the court ruled his planning was online fantasy. He served a reduced sentence and was released, and now he is just back, somewhere in the city. Number 12. In Amityville, Long Island, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue is still standing, still occupied, and still stalked by paranormal tourists. In November 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot 6 members of his family there. A year later, the Lutz family moved in, stayed 28 days, and fell ED, claiming demonic activity. The address was changed, the house renovated, and current owners have asked the public to stop trespassing. Suffolk County Police still run extra patrols on Halloween because every year someone tries to break in. Number 11. If you swim at Jacob Riis Park or walk the beaches of Jamaica Bay today, there is a decent chance you are walking over 19th century medical waste. The bay floor contains uncatalogued human remains from North Brother Island and Hart Island burials that eroded or were washed out during hurricanes. In 2012, Hurricane Sandy unearthed coffins on Hart Island and scattered them into the bay. Some were never recovered. Those remains are still in the sediment. Fishermen have pulled up bones. The city's official response is mostly silence. Now, the disturbing tier. Number 10. The water coming out of your tap in a New York apartment right now flowed through tunnels older than the light bulb. The Croton Aqueduct System began delivering water from upstate reservoirs to Manhattan in 1842, and most of that 19th century tunnel network is still in service. Meanwhile, City Water Tunnel Number 3, a backup tunnel that has been under construction since 1970, is the largest capital project in the history of New York City. It still isn't finished. Workers who started on it in the Nixon administration retired before it went operational. People have died during its construction, and it still isn't done. Number 9. Underneath the streets of Lower Manhattan, there is a 19th century network of pneumatic tubes that used to shoot mail across the city at 35 miles per hour. From 1897 to 1953, 23 post offices were connected by these tubes. The system was abandoned, but most of the piping was never removed. Every few years, a construction crew digging a foundation accidentally breaks into a section and pulls out a rotted iron canister from before World War I. Right now, somewhere under Wall Street, there is a sealed tube containing a letter somebody wrote in 1935 that never got delivered. Number 8. Central Park, the most visited urban park on the continent, was built on top of an erased black community. Seneca Village occupied the land from 82nd to 89th Street on the west side. It had 3 churches, a school, and more than 250 residents, mostly African American and Irish immigrants. In 1857, the city used eminent domain to evict everyone and demolish the homes to create the park. Archaeologists are still pulling artifacts out of the soil today. The last dig was in 2021. Tourists eat ice cream on benches directly above the foundations of people's houses. Number 7. In Harlem, under what used to be Knickerbocker Hospital, there is a network of tunnels that once connected to a psychiatric morgue. The hospital closed decades ago. The tunnels, originally used for moving bodies between the morgue and delivery bays without alarming patients, are still structurally intact today. Urban explorers have photographed them. Nobody has sealed them. They sit underneath a working neighborhood where people walk their dogs and eat brunch. Number 6. Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn is the final resting place of over 560,000 people. It is also the actual final battlefield of the Battle of Brooklyn, fought in August 1776, the first major battle of the Revolutionary War. Cannon fire marks are still visible on some of the older stone structures today. Tourists walking between the graves of Jean-Michel Basquiat and Leonard Bernstein are walking over a battlefield that decided the fate of the United States. Most of them are taking selfies. Quick break. If this is the kind of thing you like watching, hit subscribe before the top 5. They are the reason this video exists. Back to it. Now the unhinged ones. Number 5. Inside Queens, one of the most densely populated counties in America, there is a working farm that has been in continuous operation since 1697. Queens County Farm Museum has real goats, real crops, and a 17th century farmhouse, all sitting on 47 acres, surrounded by apartment blocks and the Grand Central Parkway. You can step off the Q46 bus and find yourself staring at a pig. Meanwhile, the farm predates the United States. It's older than the Constitution, it's older than most European colonies, and it's still selling vegetables. Number 4. Rikers Island, the most infamous jail complex in the country, is physically sinking into the ground. The island was built on top of a former landfill. The garbage underneath is still decomposing today. Methane is vented through pipes to keep it from exploding. Parts of the ground are so unstable that some facility buildings have been condemned in the last 5 years. The city has been trying to shut Rikers down on a political timeline since 2017. The Earth itself is trying to shut it down on a geological timeline. Nobody talks about which one is going to win. Number 3. On July 28, 1945, a B-25 bomber flying through thick fog crashed into the 79th floor of the Empire State Building. 14 people died. Part of the engine fell down an elevator shaft, and a woman named Betty Lou Oliver was inside. She survived a 75-story elevator fall, which to this day remains the longest survived elevator drop in recorded history. The Empire State Building reopened for business 2 days later. You can still book a tour of that exact observation deck today. There is no plaque. Number 2. The Gowanus Canal in Brooklyn is federally designated by the EPA as one of the most contaminated bodies of water in the United States. 100 years of industrial dumping left a layer at the bottom that the EPA actually calls black mayonnaise. It is a mixture of coal tar, heavy metals, and raw sewage, about 10 feet thick. The cleanup has been ongoing since 2010 and is scheduled to finish in the 2030s. Maybe. Meanwhile, $2 million luxury condos are being built along the banks right now. People are moving in. Canoe tours operate on the water. There are restaurants. Number 1. Inside Grand Central Terminal, on the lower concourse in front of the Oyster Bar, there is a curved archway of glazed tile called the Whispering Gallery. If 2 people stand in opposite corners of the arch, facing the walls, they can whisper to each other from 30 feet apart and hear every word perfectly. The architects never designed it intentionally. It is a coincidence of the tile and the dome geometry. Every day, about 750,000 commuters walk through Grand Central. Almost none of them know the gallery exists. So right now, as you are watching this, somewhere in that terminal, 2 strangers could be standing 30 feet apart, whispering in each other's ears, surrounded by 1,000 people who have no idea it is happening. That is the city in one fact. Everyone is on top of each other. Nobody is paying attention, and something strange is always happening in the quiet spots. So that was 25. The thing about New York is you can make this list another 40 times with different entries and never run out. The rats, the bodies, the sinking jail, the whispering tiles, they're all real. They're all happening right now. And 8 million people walk past them every day without looking. Anyway, if this did something for you, we made a whole video on the darkest places hidden in California that almost nobody ever talks about. Click that one next. It's already on screen. If you want more episodes like this covering the weirdest parts of other states, go ahead and subscribe. We drop a new one every week. See you in the next one.